free racing pigeon tips and lots of info. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, look at the links and email below. The best treatment for a racing pigeon will depend on the specific disease or condition that the bird is suffering from. It is important to consult a veterinarian who is familiar with pigeon medicine to accurately diagnose the problem and recommend the appropriate treatment. Some common treatments for racing pigeon diseases and conditions include. Please look in the description on where to buy. Antiviral medications, used to treat viral infections such as pigeon pox, paramyxovirus, adenovirus, Newcastle disease, and avian influenza. Antifungal medications, used to treat fungal infections such as canker and aspergillosis. Antibiotics, used to treat bacterial infections such as salmonella, mycoplasma, chlamydia, and colobacillosis. Antiparasitic medications, used to treat parasitic infections such as trichomoniasis and coccidiosis. Insecticides, used to kill lice and mites that infest the skin and feathers. Bronchodilators, used to open the airways and treat respiratory conditions such as bronchitis. Here are the top 10 diseases that can affect racing pigeons, along with some information on how they can be treated. Pigeon pox. This viral disease causes lesions on the skin and eyes and can be treated with a vaccine. Canker. This fungal infection affects the crop and throat and can be treated with antifungal medications. Respiratory infections. These infections, which can be caused by viruses, bacteria, or fungi, affect the respiratory system and can be treated with antibiotics. Worms. Pigeons can be infected with various types of worms, including roundworms and tapeworms, which can be treated with deworming medications. External parasites. Pigeons can be infested with lice, mites, and other external parasites, which can be treated with insecticides or other medications. Eye injuries. Pigeons can suffer injuries to their eyes, which can be treated with medications or surgery. Nutritional deficiencies. Pigeons that are not receiving a balanced diet can develop deficiencies in certain nutrients, which can be corrected through dietary changes. Egg binding. Pigeons may have difficulty laying eggs due to various factors, such as obesity, lack of calcium, or a physical abnormality. Treatment may involve dietary changes, calcium supplements, or surgery. Fractures. Pigeons can suffer fractures due to accidents or fights, and these can be treated with splints or surgery. Egg yolk peritonitis. This is a condition in which the yolk of an egg becomes stuck inside the pigeon's body, leading to an infection. It can be treated with surgery. It is important to work with a veterinarian who is familiar with pigeon medicine in order to properly diagnose and treat any health issues that may arise. And to participate in. For instance, if you have 4 good hens, all bred for distance racing, if you have, then it's quite simple really. You keep the 4 hens celibate, that is spare, and you keep them in a loft on their own, preferably on poles with a wire floor to the loft. If you don't have such a place, then the young bird loft will do. Let them out for exercise with the young birds, and feed just the same. When racing comes along, you always make sure that you have cocks to cover the hens, and on race days let the hens have their freedom with the cocks for a couple of hours after each race, a form of widowhood if you like. You don't have to race these hens every week, but it is important to train, and if you know a lorry driver, so much the better. The direction is not so important, possibly 70 to 80 miles twice per week single up is all they will need, back to their own little loft, but show no cocks. If you do decide to send these hens to a race, then let them have 10 minutes with their intended cock, then basket. Now this is where we have to put this system into action. You should get 3 good channel races out of these hens, sometimes 4, with excellent performances for the first race, which will be the shortest channel event, or a 300-mile race. The hens don't go to any of the races 2 weeks prior to the channel races, but have the single-up tosses right up to 2 days prior to basketing. This way the hens will be mad keen to see the cocks. On the morning of basketing, the hens are basketed and taken just a couple of miles from the loft and released all together back to their loft. This should contain straw, bowls, and the cocks. It's a sight for sore eyes when they arrive. Then leave the hens in with the cocks until it is time to go to the marking station. Most hens will put up a good performance at this first stage. When the first race is over, the hens are allowed to stop with the cocks and go down on their first pair of eggs of the season, or even better, of their lives. If you are lucky, the hens should lay their second egg a day or 2 before basketing for the second channel event. But be warned, if the hen has only laid her first egg, then don't send her, you will just have to miss this one out. Make sure you still keep the single-ups going every week. If the hen misses out on the second channel event, then you may, if you wish, give her an inland race. So now we have a hen going to her second channel race, and she has only laid 1 pair of eggs. It is important that while the hen is away at the race point you take the cocks left at home out of the loft when it is not his turn to sit the eggs, and when you put him back on the eggs make sure they have been kept warm by another pair of birds. This way you shouldn't have any problems with the cock leaving the eggs. If you do, then all would be lost. Race 3 is when the hens will have been sitting for around 16 days, and if you wish you can place a young bird under her for the full day before she goes to the race and take the cock bird out of the loft. When Jan Kauser showed me all these lovely bens. You do this, remember to have saved some eggshells to kit her along. If not, what I have done in the past is dry some chicken eggshells out and these will do fine. These also must go in the nest with the baby as it is more natural, and believe me, with their first young bird of the season the hens will race brilliantly. Remember to undersit the eggs as these will most likely have hatched out by the time the hen gets back. Fourth race, you now have the hens on their first young bird of the season. You only need one youngster to a nest, so once they get to around 5 days old take one out and undersit it as there is no need for any unnecessary work for the hen. If the youngster gets too big then replace it with a smaller one. The hens by this time should be at their peak, providing you have kept them in training. If you can't get the single up training spins then you must flag the hens 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the afternoon, right up to 2 days before basketing for the race. Try and let the cock do most of the feeding. I used to hand feed the young birds myself so that it doesn't take too much out of the hens. Soaked beans are ideal and this system has been proven many times, not just by me but also by many of my friends. I must mention that while the birds are celibate in the early part of the season, I think it is best to keep them in a darkened loft to make them think it is still winter time. Let's say the loft is in complete darkness from 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. until 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. the next day, then when you do pair them up it's like spring to them and they come alive. This also works with all pigeons, both cocks and hens, even the young birds.